So good morning and welcome back. Always it's wonderful to see all of you here on a Sunday morning. So are you ready for the holidays?
Yeah.
It's 3 weeks from today. Come on, get it together, okay?
Yeah.
All of you have no excuse except for Monique, who is moving, and she has an excuse. Okay, there you go. How about that? So, I don't know. At any rate, we are continuing today with our study of this amazing book, The 10 Demandments of Prosperity by Dr. Stuart Grayson. Stuart was a student of Raymond Charles Barker, I believe. Raymond Charles Barker was an immediate protege of Ernest Holmes back in the day, or way back in the day, I guess. And Stuart wrote a lot of books before he died a few years ago. You can check him out online if you want to and see what you can find out. The book that we are looking at is part of a series on 10 amazing things that we have been discussing, 10 commandments, 10 core concepts of science of mind. We'll come up with 10 of something else here after a week or two here. We'll get through the Christmas holidays and all of that and see what prevails. This is a pretty amazing book. We've been looking at the 10 Demandments of Prosperity for several weeks now. Today we're going to finish it by looking at Demandments 8, 9, and 10. So hold on to your seats, put on your seatbelt. Here we go. Off goes Santa's sleigh with some fun stuff. The 8th demandment, as identified by Stuart Grayson, is circulation. This relates that we express and we experience the good in life only to the degree that we are open to allowing creative consciousness to move through us, to flow through us, to be the instrument, okay, that sets the tone for our lives, for the actions we take, the things we think, the way that we live, all of it. Think for just a moment about your physical expression. Your heart is beating. It beats every second, over and over and over, every hour, every moment of every day. In Grayson's book, he says that the journey of the blood as it is pumped through the body is something like 60,000 miles in length. I don't know if that's true or not. That sounds pretty extreme, but it's, pretty significant. Regardless, we know that it's a huge journey from the time, the blood supposedly leaves the heart. It moves all the way through the body and then comes back to the heart. It's pretty amazing how that process happens. Think, too, that when you go to sleep at night, you lay down, you shut down, you turn off, and yet parts of your body are able to breathe for you, to oxygenate all of your systems, to filter, to clean, to do the amazing things they do. If either of those systems was to slow down or stop, even momentarily, it would mean something pretty significant for us. Our whole potential physical existence might be compromised. For us to fully comprehend and experience prosperity, the way Grayson defines it in our lives, we have to recognize that on a spiritual level, with divine mind, there is a thing happening that is just the same as our hearts beating and our respiratory systems functioning without us having to attend to that. That spiritual something is just this. It is that divine mind is always bestowing upon us idea, new life, new brilliance, new ways of seeing things, new aha moments. We have to be open to receiving those in order for us to change, to be a part of life fully, to experience prosperity in every realm of our lives. We have to recognize that we are receiving centers for that influx. This process continues constantly. It never stops. It goes on in perpetuity. The single most impactful thing that opposes that process. Do you know what it is? Do you have an idea? We talk about this all the time here at Open Door. The single most significant obstruction, you're close, to feeling that divine impulse moving through us all the time is negative thinking. It's very simple now. I know you will remember several weeks ago, Grayson reminded us, really we get this too from Science of Mind, from the writings and the works of Ernest Holmes, but it's clearer with Stuart Grayson. That's not unusual for people who came along after Ernest to write things down in a way that kind of help interpret what Ernest was trying to say. But the message that Grayson gives us is that thought is energy. Well, if you don't think energy is powerful, then take me up on the suggestion I gave you last week. Wait until the calendar says Saturday, December 24th. Hop in your vehicle, drive over to Asheville, and about 10 a.m. walk into the Asheville Mall on Christmas Eve and see how thought feels. Take the pulse of the energy in that situation. You will not want to be there for long unless you enjoy manic, crazy, I don't have it and I need it kind of, stuff going on. Some people, thrive on that. I don't know. I can do it for about 5 minutes and it's like, okay, I've had enough of this. Time to get off this merry-go-round, What we have to do is recognize that our thought is powerful and our negative thought is powerful too. So it behooves us to maintain a daily practice of clearing the path, of dissolving our doubts and our fears. Grayson tells us in this part of the book that doubts and fears bind, they blind, and they beget regret. They destroy opportunity. Think for a moment again about any day in your life. Just watch tomorrow as you walk through Monday. We've already gotten up and we have the shadow of Monday. How many bad jokes have we been assaulted with in our lifetimes about Monday? We have experiences with coworkers, friends, family, pets. We turn on the news. We shut the news off if we have intelligence of high quality. We do not listen. We turn on social media. It is suggested here that something like 80% of the engagements, the experiences that we will have are flavored with something bitter, disheartening, and debasing to the soul. It's amazing what percentage of stuff, garbage, there are no kids in here, crap that we are exposed to that is negative. Okay? It is incredibly difficult to keep a firm, coherent, positive consciousness in the face of that. Yes, it is absolutely imperative that we do that. What is fear? Fear is what lies at the heart of most of that mess, isn't it? Ernest Holmes tells us very succinctly and clearly, fear is faith. It's faith in lack, limitation, and loss. It's a belief that whatever we don't want to have happen, that which will hurt us, impair us, shut us down, keep us small, will be our experience. It's faith misplaced. An antidote to fear is very simple. It's one of the 5 components that Grayson talks about being strategic to having a consciousness of prosperity. It's clear thinking. Very simply, clear thinking. It is the awareness that where we are bringing into consciousness the concept that we don't just think it, but we live the idea that we are truly masters of our fate and captains of the ship, so to speak, of our soul. William Henley said that in his poem Invictus. It's a pretty powerful experience to read that. We have to affirm to ourselves that we are each individualized lights, individualized awareness, pieces, components of divine mind. We can always draw upon the energy of that divinity and hold true to its brilliance. Yet often we allow disbelief in ourselves to tell us that we can't do something. We believe we're not strong enough. We believe we're not talented enough or good enough. Perhaps we don't deserve it. Maybe we're just not wise enough. Prosperity demands the willingness, the fortitude to transcend those lies. We must allow that divine mind, cosmic consciousness, we must recognize that we are a means of transmitting that truth out into the world. If you and I aren't agents of God, who is? Tell me that. How can we unseat the tyranny of fear? It's so simple, it belies imagination. We must learn, as Christian scripture advises, to pray ceaselessly. Now, if the idea of prayer or speaking to a deity, a divinity, bothers you, it bothers me. I still think back to when I got married in a church, not like this one, in 1987 in a Presbyterian church when I got married, and I really, truly believed that the building might not withstand the impact. That sounds crazy. Perhaps it's very egoic, but I had my fears. I knew what I had done. I knew where I had been. Okay? I also knew where my future ex-husband had been too. Okay? Yeah, he was quite a colorful. He still is a colorful one. We pray ceaselessly by having none of that enter the picture. We simply hold to the truth and affirm to ourselves, especially in the face of negativity, of doubt, I'm strong. I can do this. Good things come to me today. I am a broadcasting station for love, for joy, for peace and prosperity. Every day in every way, I am getting better and better. And it's so much the better. If as we affirm these words, we at first don't even believe them, that's great, because what it says is that we have the willingness, the capacity to make changes by simply adhering to this spiritual path, by stating those truths until they become our reality, our knowingness. This is a true indication that the words we embrace will change not only our lives, but every life. When we change something a little, we change it a lot for everyone. The 9th commandment is spiral motion. Now, if anybody in here is familiar with the science called spiral dynamics, you really understand this. Spiral dynamics is the brilliant work of a man whose name was Clare. I don't know how that happened, and I don't, Becker, something like that. He was one of the people who went to South Africa and helped bring the end of apartheid, okay, through what he recognized as the fact that we are always growing. We are spiraling upward, or paradoxically, we're losing ground, okay? We're heading downward, we're heading out. Stuart Grayson recognizes that this spiral motion, especially this motion upward and onward into the universe, forever in perpetuity, is how life is. It's what the universe does. He recommends that we look to nature and see an example of this upward growth, for nature is constantly evolving. Think about this. Go out and look at the leaves on the trees. Wait till Friday, they'll be gone. Nature's always changing. They change color. They change size. They go away. And then even in the bleakness in the winter, in the night, we know There's something mysterious happening. Even under the snow, there's an amazing unfolding of growth. It continues symmetrically and smoothly. Nature functions with a systematicness and a balance and a timing that is all its own. The cosmic impulse, those are words like what Ernest Holmes uses, capitalized. The cosmic impulse is always upward, onward, and forward. That same impulse is what wakes us up in the morning, what causes us to say yes when our beingness is really thinking, no way, Jose, okay? What this means for us as spiritual beings having this human earthly experience is that the more we grow, the more we can grow. Have you ever known someone who was 85, 90 years old, and yet they embodied a life force that was just phenomenal? Like 80, what? 60s maybe, right? Yeah, okay? It's amazing. I used to say the sky's the limit. I quit saying that. The only limit there is the one that we impose. Can we see the next slide, please, Paul? This is Nick Vujicic. I have the phonetic spelling in my notes. Thank you. Do you know about Nick? Today is his birthday. He's 34 years old. I didn't know that until I started looking him up. To me, he is a hero. Nick Vujicic he's Australian. He was born 1982, no arms, no legs. They have no idea why. Nothing wrong in any realm of anything. They still can't tell his parents why that happened. Here's a young man that by all rights should have given up. He should have stayed at home, let people baby him, do everything from feed him to clothe him and shelter him. Instead, he said, "Are you kidding? I can do anything I want to do." At 34, he is married. He is the father of 2 children. Notwithstanding that, he has, let me find my notes here. He has put together 2 movies. He has written 1 book. Go online and look him up, okay? They show pictures of him swimming. I have 2 arms and 2 legs, and I feel sorry for myself when I drag my silly little self down to the pool in Cherokee to swim because I have to go work out. Oh my God. Shame on me, right? He is an example of living, spiraling ever upward. Nothing stops him. Nothing should stop us either. He has refused to be held down. He has refused to be minimized. He has refused to be touched by a condition that would slay most of us. He also started an organization, by the way, called Life Without Limbs for others who are experiencing similar situations. I want to be like Nick, don't you? Demandment number 10. The final demandment in this book is synergy. What the heck is synergy anyway? Well, I went to dictionary.com, and this is one of those words that sounds cool, right? Okay. You know, we hear Synergy Center for Spiritual Living or something like that, right? It just sounds cool. Synergy is the interaction of elements that when combined produce an effect that is greater than the sum of the individual parts or their contributions. Here, when we get it, when we move into synergy, we internalize that we are partnering with divine principle. We recognize that divine order of this world always manifests in good unfolding. We acknowledge and set our sights upon the awareness that there is an energy, a force, truly a reality, a creative sequence that is continuously at work and operating in the world. Some of us might call this God. But I am here to tell you, I don't think we have to. In fact, I think we can leave this completely to the secular. We might realize this then as simply an aspect of spiritual law. We might recognize that energy is simply something that we corral and move in a certain direction. And when we reach a certain critical mass, all those parts come together to be more than they ever thought about being alone. Isn't that what's happening with people on this planet too? What did Margaret Mead say? It only takes a few concerned citizens to bring about change. I think we might be seeing that in the future. In the Talmud, in the Jewish encyclopedic scripture, if you will, there's a saying, every blade of grass has its angel that bends over it, whispering, grow, grow. Here, what happens is we recognize that we are always receiving and accepting the awareness that there is some force in life, a fullness of principle, if you will, that wants for us to live happily, prosperously, and freely. This principle stands behind us. It shines the light of consummation upon all that we grasp with deep intentionality. It is truly our component, our motor, our motivation, our thing that puts us out there in the world. In living synergy, we must learn to trust the process. Grayson even says this. I heard that phrase many years ago someplace else. It blew me away when I read it in his book. We have to learn that although the terrain might appear to be bleak at times, there is a larger reality at work and a greater destiny than always our human eye can take in. And we must be in tune with ourselves right here. We must know this well enough to live our lives according to our own deepest beliefs, our own internal suppositions. To do otherwise is to live by default, to ride the wave of judgment that others have cast upon us. I don't want to live like that anymore. I don't think you do either. Prosperity, our real wealth, issues from within our own consciousness. We must know this well enough to be able to live it where the rubber meets the road. We see here that prosperity is a spiritual idea of excellence. It issues from a high quality of consciousness. It requires that we give it time, love, patience, and caring. So let us go forth and live prosperously. Let us adhere to these suggestions made by Grayson. We need to be clear about our goals. What is it we want? Don't simply claim a peaceful life for yourself. Claim peace that is specifically embodied through rich, joyous, and harmonious relationships, through an ease of mind that is your constant companion. Refuse to allow anything else blur the lines. Know exactly what you want. Once, in working toward a manifestation, I sought out a friend of mine, a practitioner in this movement. She listened to me for about 2 hours. I think that was really the only thing she made that we might call a miscalculation on her part. She didn't know how to shut me up, I don't think. Finally, after the second, hour or so, she kind of went, treat more. Make a list. Write down what you want. Be specific. Every time something changes one iota, change the list and republish it. And I did that. 3 days later, what I was looking for showed up at 1 a.m. in the morning. At the time, I was kind of having a word of prayer with God. I was a little frustrated. It's amazing how frustration can make things manifest. Pretty incredible. It is important for us to consciously and honestly look at what we're doing in the world. What are my relationships like? What is my physical presence like? What is my relationship with money like? Oh my. And once we do that, it is important for us to look at those situations and change behaviorally, change with our thoughts where we need to do that. This center helps people do that. That's what we are about. We need to make a commitment to ourselves to grow, to not stand still. Grayson recommends that we decide. That's pretty interesting coming from him, because his mentor, Raymond Charles Barker, wrote a book called Power of Decision. Some of you have been around here long enough to remember reading that book with us many moons ago, 5 or 6 years ago. Grayson recommends that we decide consciously and coherently that we are on our way to an enlarged experience of prosperity by being successful, by thriving in every area of our lives.